In 2012, my wife and I attended a walking tour and lecture on seaweed held at the beach at Montauk Point. As I was listening to the speaker, I happened to turn around and I saw upon the bluff a large amount of what it seemed like a seaweed. Wondering what it was, I walked toward the bluff and discovered that it was a gigantic bundle of twisted wire. It was a chain-linked fence that had been twisted in such a way that it had captured fishing lines, dangerous fishing hooks, nylon ropes, plastic bottles, and beer cans, and it had deposited ashore by the surf. It had been purged from the sea. Nature now was talking directly to me. I call myself nature's ambassador. Nature communicates with me in the form of inspiration, and it is my duty to translate these messages into a transcendental language that everybody can understand. That language is art, and drawing is its written form. As nature ambassador, I perceive pollution as the destruction of my source of inspiration, an impediment in my spiritual communication with nature, and therefore a personal aggression. Since 1972, I have been creating ecological exhibitions using plastic garbage deposited by the surf. I wanted to use this bundle of wire with the captured plastic to create a work of art before the surf could reclaim it back into the ocean. The heavy gauge wire had been twisted by the surf in such a way that without powerful tools, it would be impossible for me to remove even the smallest portion. I talked to these organizers of the seaweed lecture to give me some idea as to why it was there, and they told me that it had been embedded into the bluff for at least 1 year, and that it was too complicated to get the necessary funds and permission to remove it. I asked if I could have it, and they said, go for it. I rushed home to get bolt cutters and other hand tools in order to start work on cutting it apart. I was disturbed that this fencing had been washed ashore, and I decided to take matters into my own hands. Captured and intertwined in the fencing, there were large commercial fishing hooks and fish lines intertwined with nylon ropes and other detritus. The fencing was hazardous to anyone that might try to play with it or even move it. I came to understand why it became a problem for those in charge of protecting the environment or those who visited the beach. At this time, I was suffering from a full-blown case of the shingles, and it was not the best moment to start exerting myself. But I couldn't wait any longer to see this mess gone. My discomfort between the shingles, the heat, my state of mind incapacitated me so that I was only able to cut small pieces. The fence, buried in the sand and with rocks around it, made it even harder to extract a beginning or an end. I took as much as I could, and a few days later came back to continue my mission. In spite of the pain from the shingle, I was driven to see this gone and perhaps make a presentation to the many Montauk organizations in charge of the environment. I had no idea how I would present the work or what I would make from the fencing. I made many trips to meditate while working on extracting the wire. It came to me that I was surrounded by the best way to presenting the work. I had been making rocks out of styrofoam, plastic bottles, and paper pulp, but didn't know what to do with them until I saw the rocks surrounding the fencing wire. I would use the rocks that I had been making with discarded plastic and styrofoam and surround the wire sculpture with rocks imitating the shore where it had been found. Driven by my frustration since 1972, I've not been able to find an institution to help me educate people about the dangers of pollution. I took matters into my own hands and became again a militant whose goal was to demonstrate that the contamination of the environment is a matter that concerns everyone. I am an artist who depends on inspiration in order to create. This is the reason why becoming a commercial artist was a detriment to my creativity. Having to please a clientele in order to make a living went against my mandate as nature's ambassador. In my quest to find someone to help me educate those who ignore a contaminated environment, I thought of following the route laid by those who came before me, knock on the same sealed doors, and learn my course of action. I am creating more rocks and boulders and paintings and drawings in order to present the work for shows at the Second House Craft Fair to benefit the Montauk Historical Society and other educational venues such as the Montauk Library and schools. More than ever, it is imperative to join forces in order to educate people that the climate change is a man-made reality that has gone from a dangerous future to a catastrophic present. We are irreversibly contaminating our oceans and the environment.